wako na ujua mwenyewe sikuachi pengine uniache wewe alimradi unanipenda peke yetu tutaishi kwenye dunia sikuachi pengine uniache wewe na jiko langu kama mboni ya macho yangu nitakulinda mpenzi wangu wewe jiko langu kama mboni ya macho.
Hi everybody, today I'm here to emphasize and talk about community workers. I understand there are so many Kenyans who are right here in Australia studying either community worker as a in a diploma level, and some are studying at a degree bachelor's level. So today I have decided to come and give you some clarity, because some of you keep on asking so many questions, and I'm like, I just need to do this video. So in case you don't know me, my name is Lioness Lizzie. You can find me on either of the platforms that you think about. You will find me there. I talk so much about migration because that is where my passion is. So let's start here. If you are in Australia today, or maybe you're planning to move to Australia and study community worker, what do you need to understand? There are two things. So for you to come out as a qualified community worker, the first thing that you really need to understand is you need to have attained at least a diploma in community work, a bachelor's in community work studies. So you'll need to go to a university, you'll need either to go to a college and undertake these studies to meet the requirements. Okay, we also have something called placement. You need at least to attain 400 hours of placement. You need to make sure that with your university or college, even if you're doing a bachelor's or a diploma, make sure the placement where you are going to do the practical, they meet the real life scenario of a community worker. So that could include maybe working in agencies that provide, welfare workers supports, or other agencies that works with community, it. So don't just go and do any placement, because you might end up getting a very serious issues when it comes to getting your skill assessment. So we are getting there. Anyway, that was just the baseline. So boom, you're here with your diploma, or you're here with your bachelor's, and where do you go next? So after graduation, if let's start first here. If you've done your diploma and you may be proceeding to your bachelor's, you need to know that you can as well get your papers using your diploma level. So okay, it is good to proceed, of course, and study bachelor's, but it is just good to know that you have eligibilities needed to acquire the papers here. So once you have your papers, if you decide to get into the 485 visa, that is a graduate visa, because with a diploma or a bachelor's, you can get into a 485 visa. It is a TR, so you'll be working full-time on this visa. Make sure you're getting employment in sectors that offer you experience, okay, to apply for skill assessment. There are so many of the universities that you need to have at least 1 year of of paid, paid employment, for you to be able to get a positive skill assessment. So there's some of the university that you cannot just apply for skill assessment and get it. You need at least first to have a 1 year experience. So make sure in your 2 years TR visa 485, you're getting 1 year experience, and then you apply for skill assessment. Most of the time, you need to know that when you're applying for skill assessment, it takes time. It could take even 3 months. Okay, so, and it's money, it's not free. You're paying about $1,000 to the assessing body, which is the Australian community worker. Okay, there are other evidences, of course, that you'll need to provide for you to get the positive skill assessment. And again, if you know you cannot do this thing, don't do it yourself, because it's just a small thing and then you mess up your whole application. All right, so now you're here, you pay the assessing fees around 1,000. It should be 995 or 900, I can't remember, about just $1,000. When you pay that, it will take time. You'll do the paperwork, then you get your suitable skill assessment. Wow, you are halfway done. Trust me. So with the skill assessment, which is one of a very powerful thing to have here in Australia, this is one of the requirements that is needed for you to apply for um any visas when it comes to migration, permanent residency, work visas. Yeah, it is very important that you need skill assessment, a positive, suitable one, because you might end up not getting positive if you don't do it very correctly, or if you don't meet the requirement. Okay, so you're here, you already have your skill assessment suitable. Where do we go? Guys, so once you have your skill assessment, you now proceed and apply for, if you want permanent residency, if you want to apply for 491, there's some things that you can apply, but you all need to know that from that point, it is not on your hand to control your application. It is upon the government or the state or whatever, just let's say just the government, to offer you the permanent residency. Permanent residency is not a Christmas gift that they just give you for free. You really need to meet the requirement. So let me just give you a very general requirement of some of the things that you need to know, okay? Okay, so anyone applying for the permanent residency here in Australia, they need to be at least 45 years of age, below 45 years of age, okay? So if you're 46 and 47, whatever, you need to look for other options, which they're there for you to see how you can get your papers. But I believe that most of us are below 45 years, okay? So let me talk about the 45 years below. So you will need to meet the age requirement. That's the first thing. The second thing is the English requirement. You need to have a competent English. Competent means you need to get at least 6.666 in IELTS, or in equivalent to PT or it or TOEFL or whatever. Okay, so you need to get at least competent, and then you need to have a skill assessment, suitable skill assessment, which you already have. As a community worker, you already have your suitable skill assessment. So it depends with each state. Like for example, let me now use the state where I live, South Australia. Okay, if maybe you studied in South Australia for 2 years. South Australia is how do we say, it's a regional place. Okay, it is, as per migration, this is a regional place. So you normally get 5 points for you just living here and studying for 2 years. So a diploma should go for 2 years. So you see, you qualify for 5 points. When it comes to age, with age also it depends with where you fall. There's a different age parameter and you get different points with the age. So that's another thing. So let's say maybe most of you, I know you're young, you're not as old as I am. So most of you, I know you'll be getting about 30 points with your age, okay? Because most of you are below 33 years, so you get 30 points. Then you add the 5 points from the studying in regional, that is how many? 35. Then you get you have competent English already. No, let's not count that, because then that is not giving you point. But if you try and get proficiency, like if you get 7.777, you get 10 points. If you get 8.88, you get 20 points. Now you see, you need at least to have like 6. You need to have at minimum 65 points. So you can imagine, you will add those 5, 5, 5, 10, 10, 10. If you get to 65, guys, go and submit your expression of interest. Some states, you just need to apply for ROI. You don't need the EOI. There's just some different things. That is now where the migration lawyers and agents, they come in. If you don't understand this, just don't go guessing. I've seen people who end up losing a whole visa application because of them ticking yes instead of no. I have a very best friend who messed up her PR just by ticking something she claimed that she had not claimed. She had to go through the court and all that. But now she's a citizen. Clap for her. Anyway, so you're here. You have 65 points. Go and express your interest. If you're doing the ROI, if you're doing the EOI, go and express it. If you want to keep on working hard to get your English, maybe get like superior and get 20 points, make sure you have already submitted your expression or your ROI, and now you're here. waiting or trying your best to get your English. Okay, some of you will need to go and do NAT is an exam where you go and sit. It is what is it we call that you can, like, for me now, I speak Swahili, so I will go, then you do an exam in translation of English to Swahili, then you get extra point, 5 points if you pass that exam. There are so many of other things. If you have a partner, they can also contribute towards those points. So either if they have a competent English, you get a 5 points. If they have a skill assessment, you get a 10 points. So yes, if you can claim all those points, it is very important just to know that anything to do with permanent residency is very competitive, and I would advise you make sure you collect as much points as possible. However, if you've just gotten into at 65 points at minimum, please proceed and submit your application. Anyway, I would like to mention some few employments that you guys can look into, some of the jobs that you guys can do that meets community worker requirement. So the first one is aged care worker, there is a case worker, there is case manager, there's child protection practitioner, there's community development officer, there's community development, there's community educator, there's counselor, there's NDIS support coordinator. Yes, there's a crisis intervention worker, domestic and family violence practitioner. What else? There's drugs and alcohol worker. There's also emergency relief worker. You can also work as a housing officer, housing officer. You can just Google and see what it is. You can also work as a assessing officer. You can work in juvenile as juvenile justice officer. You can work in the jails. You can also work in men's health office as a men's health officer or men's health officer. You can work as a mental health support worker, and underline mental health support worker. Okay, all right, because I know this is where most of you people work, but you just ignore that kind of work. You be like, no, it doesn't meet the whatever I want. You can also work as a multicultural support officer. You can also work as outreach worker, as a social worker. Some people they can work as a social worker. And I'm going to mention something about those one who have studied social work. Okay, because if you have done social work, you can as well work as a community worker. I will mention something before the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned. You can also work as a welfare officer or worker. And last one, but is not least, you can work as a youth worker. And I want to emphasize on this because I know so many of you like doing shift work. So I know there are two places that you can perfectly fit. The first one, as I mentioned, was a mental health support worker. So many of you can work there already, but you don't know if it meets the requirement. And one of the very common place that most of you people work, but you don't know, is as a youth worker. So as a youth worker, you can either work in schools, you can either work in community setting, you can work under the Department of Child Protection, you can work anywhere. But because I know you people, you like shift work, just go and work either in Kavan, in juveniles, work in under the child protection, because then that is like just more of a carer. Okay, it's just like carers. You can do shift work, and I know you people, you like that. So don't waste your time looking for complex jobs, complex position. You are busy looking for case worker, you're busy looking for child worker practitioner, you're busy looking for housing officer. Some of these positions, I'm not saying it's hard, but it is challenging to get when you're just a beginner. And then wasting time, it is very easy for you to jump and get a youth worker position than those 9 to 5 jobs. Okay, so after this, immediately you get 65 points, submit your application. Then you start now working towards gaining more experience, because now the experience that you're gaining after your skill assessment will be counted. will be counted towards the point. So normally there is work experience that is needed. It depends with where you're living. Someone who is living in Victoria maybe doesn't need any experience. You're living here in South Australia, maybe you need to have 6 months experience to 1 year experience, depending with what you're going to pick. Like there are those small things that end up contributing to a specific channel. So if maybe you studied here in South Australia, which is a regional place, for 2 years, then you work for 6 months after your skill assessment, you can apply as a graduate, under a graduate, okay? And if you're someone who've moved from interstate and maybe you've come here, maybe you moved from Sydney, okay? And then you came here to Adelaide or South Australia, you need to work at least for 1 year and then you submit your application. You get what I mean. So there are those small things that you just need to know. When it comes to claiming points, you really need to know what you're claiming, because if you overclaim and then you get invitation and you do not provide all the evidence to show that you meet those points, bro, you're out. You're out. That is how you lose a whole permanent residency in Australia. Anyway, that is one of the requirements towards permanent residency. So there's a few visas that you guys will be looking forward to applying. There's a 491 visa, 491, and there's a 190. So 491 is a 5 years visa, but you need to stay in that visa until the 3rd year is finished, and then you can apply and now submit for PR. The reason why I don't like telling people to go for that visa is because you're going to pay, let's say you are married, okay? You're 2 people, you and your husband. You will pay, when you're submitting the visa, you'll pay $4,000, is it $4,600? Something like that, okay? You'll pay about $4,600 for the main applicant, and then your husband will pay about almost $3,000 or $2,600. The same amount you're going to pay when submitting for 190. So if you can make it to just get on 190, you are good to go. Okay? And also one thing that you need to know, when you get 491 you're eligible for Medicare. Okay, some people buy houses when they're in this specific visa, but you just need to know you're still not a permanent resident here. You cannot claim all the benefits. Your kids could be going to school for free if they're going to a private school. No, hey, pardon me, to a public school. Oh my God, you need to, even if you're a citizen or what, you need to pay for your kids' school if they're going to private. So there is no shortcut there. So pardon me. So, okay, so you will get some benefit in your 491 visa, but it's still not as a permanent residency visa. So you can apply for 190. Now let me come back. I think you guys have understood. Let me now come back to social workers. If you studied social work, you are here, maybe, social work, you need to have a bachelor's. There is nothing like diploma. They do not allow diplomas. You need to study 4 years bachelor degree. That is the minimum requirement. And the issue with social work, for you to get registration with Australia Association, AASW, Australian Association of Social Worker, you need to get 7777 in IELTS. It is crazy. Not so many people can attain that. So you can as well decide to do your skill assessment with Community Work Australia and get into it as a community worker. Most of the time, you do not need to have English. That is, when you know how to do a good application, you don't need to provide English. You can apply for skill assessment with Community Work Australia without English. You cannot demonstrate. But with that, you will need to know how to do the application for you to get away with that. Because most of the time, they ask for 65 in PTE or IELTS. You see? So, yeah. And then when you get the community, you don't even need work experience. Okay, so you can just graduate and apply for the skill assessment with Aqua. I don't know why you guys are still waiting. I don't know. So yeah, that is just something that you guys can look into if maybe you have studied social work or you did community worker. So thank you so much, and if you guys have any questions in regard to this, I'm here to help. You all know that I'm not a migration lawyer. Maybe one day I'll be, of course. Yeah, so I'll be waiting to know what you guys want me to help you with, but don't sit on your points. If you have 65 points, make sure you go forward and apply your PR. Just go and drop that application. It is very important. Okay, again, as I finish this video, my name is Lioness Lizzie, and I wish you all the best in your journey towards permanent residency.
Nitakulinda mpenzi wangu, achana nao, achana nao, achana nao, wenye roho mbaya wanatusema vibaya, achana nao, achana nao, achana nao, wenye roho mbaya wanatusema vibaya. Baby love, wewe wangu mi wako wa moyo, oh baby love, usijeniacha kwa fitna na maneno yao.